Hello, I'm Rob McCrain, and this is my model railway, Farland Howe. This is my main station, and it's called Howe Street. It's part of the name, Farland Howe. And I've had a lot of fun building this station, and it was one of the last things that was completed, this whole area, because I wanted to add the Fowler Road, which is vehicles that ride along the roads in this area. I got started, I had a train set when I was a kid. My dad gave me an O-scale train set, and I didn't really like it that much because it was a diesel, and I wanted a steam engine at the time, you know, kids. But later on, when we lived in London, my family did, I became very interested in the trains over there because when we would travel around sightseeing, we would go by train. And I found the trains very interesting, that they had passenger trains that were going everywhere. And they still do, by the way. And for Christmas one year, while we were there, I was given a wind-up Clockworks type model train that would run in a little circle. And it was a tabletop thing. And I loved it. In fact, I still have it. And when I was over in London back in 2011 or 2012, right in there somewhere, I went to the old train store where we bought that train, and I was looking around in the toy store, and I was in the train department. I was talking to a young man who was a Scotsman. He had a pretty serious Scots brogue, I guess they call it. I'm not sure what the word is, but had a very serious accent, and he was talking to me about all the trains and everything, you know, and I was kind of mildly interested until he said, and this one has sound. And I thought, sound? Well, what do you mean by that? Sound? And he described that it had all the sounds of a diesel engine and the horns and the brakes releasing and all that. Wow, that sounds really interesting. And so I bought one, and I bought a controller for it. I brought it home. I put it on the dining room table, turned it on, and lo and behold, all the sounds of a diesel engine came to my ear. And you could hear it huffing and whirring, and you know, you could tell that it wasn't firing on all cylinders at first, and it took a while for it to get going. And I was enamored. I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard. And I thought it was fascinating, and I was wondering what to do about it, and my sister happened to come to visit a few weeks after that experience, and I was telling her all about this locomotive that I had purchased, and she said, well, why don't you build a layout? This is Farmore Junction, where trains can get into the station here, and it operates like this is a branch line, and the trains can come in. I have got a runaround or a passing loop, and also a way to get back on the main line going the other way. So essentially trains are coming from Howe Street, coming over here, small trains like this, picking up passengers, dropping off passengers, and then going back to Howe Street. So it's kind of a shuttle traffic between the two. Well, I like building things. That's what I love to do, is build things. It doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's an electronics board, a castle, a model of a building of some sort. As long as I'm building something, I'm a very happy person. This was created to represent perhaps Devon or Cornwall in England. And there's quite a controversy over here because there's some old growth forest trees and they want to build new housing. first thing I did, of course, is I bought a 4x8 sheet, 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of plywood, and I put it on 2x4 legs down in the basement, and I put my track on it. And that was good, except I kept thinking, well, there could be more, you know, and I imagined that if I would add a foot on one side of the 4x8 sheet and then 2 feet to the end, I could do a few more things, maybe have some sidings or something. So I did that, and before long it was L-shaped. And this is in the old basement, the raw basement space. And before I was done, a year later or so, it was U-shaped with a big mountain and everything else. And the problem was that the wife didn't like the background because, you know, there's her old wedding dress, you know, and there's our old furniture and stuff, you know. And they were showing up on my YouTube channel. And when she saw one of my YouTube videos, she was horrified and said, we need to get you a room. So I started planning the room. And eventually, in about 2018 or so, 2017, the room was completed, and I started this layout, which is Farland 2 to me, because there was a Farland 1. However, Farland 1, I made every mistake you could possibly make building a layout, because I didn't know anything. I was a pretty good engineer, but I didn't know anything about trains, model trains, and all the things you need to know to make one work well. Well, I fixed everything I could on that layout, but it got to the point where it was going to take a major rebuild to fix some of the built-in problems that it had. So the new room and building a new layout was an opportunity to make sure I did not make any of those same mistakes again. And that's what I've done. Farcliffe Station, but Farcliffe Caravan Park. And in Britain, an RV park is called a caravan park because RVs over there are called caravans. I lived in London when I was a kid, and it had a great impression on me. When we were living there, my father had a 35 millimeter camera, and he took a lot of slides. And of course, if people would come over to dinner, they had to suffer through about an hour's worth of a slideshow. So people were very interested to see what does Britain look like. You know, they heard about it in the news during the war, you know, being bombed and Hitler attacking it and so on. And they were very interested to see what it was like over there. And so they allowed us to show them our slides. But repeating the slides over and over again, kind of as a family, you know, we had certain stories we would tell when certain slides came up, you know, which I know them all. And it was very meaningful. I have memories. The whole layout essentially is my impression of Britain, my personal impression. The things that I've found interesting when I've been there and when I was a kid. And even more recently, those are the things that I put on the layout. Things like where I modeled the cable trunking in the London Underground. That was because I saw that and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I came back and I built a model of it. This is a river coming in off the ocean and going off around the walkway. This is a harbor off the river near the mouth by the ocean. Well, I would love to tear it all down and start over again, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm getting pretty old. I'm almost 77 years old, and I think the work of carrying all the lumber up and down the stairs is probably something that I'm not able to do anymore. So I think I'm going to have to live with what I've got.